after the completion of these two major chemical screens, around 1,500 new mutations have been identified in around more than 500 genes. And the genes were actually mostly associated with the development and many pathways in vertebrate, including human being. So, what are the useful features that zebrafish possess? So it is a vertebrate animal, and since it is a vertebrate animal, it's very close to human being, other than non-vertebrate animals like C. elegans and Drosophila, and it shares homology with genes and then genomics, and to some extent by anatomy and physiology. And zebrafish is very small fish. It is around 3 to 4 centimeter length. So it's very easy to breed and maintain in laboratory conditions. It can survive in suboptimal conditions. And being very small fish, large number of the fish can be kept relatively in smaller space. And the husbandry is very cheaper than the rodent husbandry. Many genetic alteration can be done in zebrafish, so many transgenic and knockouts can be developed in a zebrafish model. Female is highly fertile. One female can lay around from 100 to up to 1,000 eggs. So large number of embryos can be available for high throughput studies, or especially in chemical toxicity or drug discovery. The fertilization and developmental is totally external, which gives access to researchers without killing the mother, and then no ethical issues are occurs. Then embryos are crystal clear, transparent during early stages of development. So it allows researchers to visualize the phenotype during the development as well as pathology. It also allows scientists to see the effect of drugs on developing organs, tissue, or the chemical toxicity of chemicals. So when you compare zebrafish with other vertebrate animals such as primates and mouse, it is easy for handling. Then genetic homology shares between human and zebrafish is around 70%, as I told you, and development is very rapid as compared to primate and mouse. Transparency of the embryo is crystal clear, whereas in other two species it's not. Embryo numbers can range from 50 to 1,000, whereas in primates it's 1, in mouse it is 5 to 10. External fertilization and development is, whereas it is in primate and mouse it's not. Husbandry is very cheap as compared to primate and mouse. When you compare zebrafish with mammal on the embryonic development front, it is similar up to the pharyngula stage. There is a presence of notochord, dorsal hollow nerve cord, tail extending behind the anus in both fish and mammal, and a series of paired brachial grooves develop into gill slits in fish, whereas in human it is developed into eustachian and auditory canal. So this is a typical picture of bony fish, where you can see external parts. So mouth, and these are the nares, nostril, which are used for smell, eyes, then different fins, dorsal caudal fin, pectoral fin, pelvic fin, bent anal fin. So these fins are actually used for navigation and movement of the fish. And then this is opercular, which covers the gills, and these are scales. Scales are act as an integumentary system, and skin has mucus secreting cells, and there is a lateral line which is served as a sensory organ in fish, and gills are actually used as a respiratory organ. And this is typical internal anatomy of fish. Many organs which are similar to other species are seen, except with few exceptions like lung. In fish, lung is absent, and the function of lungs is taken over by the gills, where the exchange of gases takes place. And in fish, the purified blood is directly pumped into the system through gills. Then heart is two compartment. It's located somewhere here, and with one atrioventricular wall. Liver is here somewhere. Gallbladder is here. This is stomach, and this is intestine. These are gonads. And in a fish, a kidney is elongated. It is just located below vertebral column. This is vertebral column, and the major vena cava run along with the vertebral column. So in large or bigger fish, you can tap this vena cava somewhere here for blood collections. For blood collection, you can directly collect the blood from heart, or you can cut the peduncle here somewhere. Some people also have tried to collect blood from eyes. And one more organ which is not found in other species, that is the swim bladder, is present in fish. It helps for buoyancy or swimming. So this is all about anatomy of the fish. Coming to fish housing system. So in any fish culture system or aquaculture system, the major challenge is to maintain the quality of water constantly clean, because if the quality of water is not clean, then the fish can suffer from the toxicity of their own fish metabolic products. So fish can be housed in static water or non-moving water using glass aquarium, mice or rat cages, and these tanks or beakers or cages can be stacked on the rack, or they can also kept on the tabletop. And fish are raised in static water, no movement of the water, no biological filters are used. And there is manual cleaning of fish tank, as well as water exchange has to be done manually. And it is a low-cost setup to establish and maintain. But the disadvantages are the fish cannot be stocked at higher density, as well as you can this system cannot guarantee the quality of water. The other modern days system for aquaculture is the recirculation of water system. So water is continuously moving, or same water is used after passing through a series of filters placed here, like biological filters, mechanical filters, chemical filters, and then UV sterilization. So this water is continuously recycled throughout the, you can say, in 365 days. And over a period of 24 hours, 10% water is exchanged. And this system is integrated with other functions like water exchange, then water aeration, degasification, then the filtration assembly, then water sterilization, then inbuilt water heating and chilling system. And there is a light and sound alarm system. So in case of breakdown, this system can be connected with your mobile, so you can get alarm on your mobile. Then the most useful feature is prevention of the contamination or disease prevention. So here each tank has separate supply of clean water, as well as their drain water or overflow water is collected separately, and then it is collected into some. So there is no cross contaminations. Since it is mechanized or motorized, less manpower is required, because many functions of cleaning and other thing is taken over by this system itself. And this system ensures the high water quality, as well as you can stock the fish at higher density. So in this system, you can stock around 5 to 10 fish, adult fish per liter, whereas in static water, you can house only 1 to 3 fish. In a fish system or a fish water, environmental parameters such as temperature, then ions like pH, and then the salts and gases, and the fish metabolic products, they are continuously interact with each other. And because of their interactions, these parameters are prone to fluctuate. So you have to monitor these parameters regularly so that there should not be any fluctuation, because all these parameters are very essential for the survival of fish as well as survival of the nitrifying bacteria which are actually present in the biological filters. I will give you one example. So generally temperature should be maintained between 28, you can say 27 to 29. It can also range between 24 to 30, but the ideal should be around 28.5. So when temperature rise above 30, so water will warm, and then it will reduce the oxygen level. So when the oxygen level is reduced, it will affect the metabolism of nitrifying bacteria which are available in biological filters. So when the metabolism of bacteria is affected, it will reduce the conversion of ammonia into nitrate. Both these elements are very toxic to fish. So see, one parameter can affect many other parameters, and then they are dependent on each other. Like pH, when pH goes below 4, then immediately fish will start dying, because the gills will be affected, and it will affect the gaseous exchange. Whereas when the pH goes above 8.5, they will kill the nitrifying bacteria, and then the biological filtration or conversion of the ammonia into nitrite, and the nitrate will be affected. So there will be a high surge of ammonia in the fish water, which is again very toxic to fish. So see, these parameters are, that's why these parameters are very important, and then they should not be fluctuated, whereas they should be around the optimal level, and for that you have to regularly monitor these parameters. So these are the range of all these parameters. These are the fish metabolic products like ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and carbon dioxide. They are not present in water before the water is entered into the aquaria, but in the fish tank, these parameters are, these metabolic products are present. And this is the frequency, temperature, pH, conductivity, you have to check daily, whereas hardness, alkalinity, and dissolved oxygen can be checked weekly. And ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, this initially you have to check every day, because it is not present in normal water. So when you start stocking the fish, that time slowly this nitrifying bacteria will be developed into the biological filters. And then once you see their levels are like ammonia level and nitrate level is 0, and nitrate level is up to 200, then you can start monitoring these parameters weekly. And these are the management, like if the temperature goes above, then you can cool the water using chiller, or when in winter season when the water temperature goes below, you can start the heater. When the pH is increased, you can adjust it with the hydrochloric acid, whereas when the pH is low, below 4 or 5, then you can adjust with the sodium bicarbonate. Conductivity, again, if it is higher, then you can add the soft water like RO water, or millipore water, or distilled water. When the conductivity is low, then you can add salt solution. Like it is same for the hardness, and then the alkalinity is also. When the oxygen goes below 4, generally normal level is 6 to 8. So if it is goes below, then you can start aeration using air bubbler, or the similar equipment. When the ammonia is increased, you can exchange the you can increase the water exchange. So ammonia, nitrate, and nitrate, the only measure is to increase the water exchange. Suppose your system is set at 10%, then in that case you can increase to 15% or 20%, so that more fresh water will be added into the system, and the levels of this ammonia, nitrate, and nitrate will be bring down. So coming to handling of the zebrafish, excuse me. Zebrafish are very sensitive to external stimuli and they are prone to stress, then anxiety and fear. So zebrafish should be handled with proper care, and for handling you can use different types of nets. And zebrafish are handled during the clinical examination for experimental purpose or during transfer from one tank to other, or during the removal of sick or dead fish. So there are different types of nets, custom-made nets as per your size of the tank. You can use the net, and disinfection of the nets are most important because it can be a source of infection from healthy fish to from infected fish to healthy fish. Coming to sexual differentiation and setting the crosses. So if your fish are very healthy and your nutritional regime is very good, your husbandry practices are very good, then after 8 to 10 weeks, you can differentiate between male and females. So female looks like with a rounded body. This is female. And the other difference is the belly and these strips are whitish. You can also see this whitish coloration at the caudal fin and anal fin, whereas males looks like slender like torpedoes, and the coloration of the belly as well as the strips is yellowish coloration, or you can also say golden coloration. This coloration is also present on caudal fins as well as anal fins, and there are some breeding tubercles. So if you see under microscope, stereo microscope, you can see some breeding tubercles. So these breeding tubercles are only present in males. So crosses are set in zebrafish to produce embryos, and embryos are required for experiments like microinjection or large scale screen, chemical screen, or for the propagation of colony. So mating is generally crosses are set in the evening, 1 hour after the last feeding, because after feeding, when you give a 1 hour rest, that time most of the fecal matters are passed, and then next day your embryos are not mixed with the fecal matters. So this is the timing actually you should prefer for mating. And the age of mating, then though the male and female can be differentiated after 8 to 10 weeks, but sexual maturity is attained after 3 to 4 months. So then those fish are ready for setting the crosses. Frequencies depend on the size of the tank. So there are different breeding tanks. There is no fixed ratio like 1 male to 1 female or 1 male to 2 females. So these are the ready-made or specialized breeding tanks. There are 2 tanks. One is bigger tank and other is smaller tank. Fish has tendency to eat their own eggs, so there should be physical separation between fish and their embryos. So this smaller tank has perforated bottoms, and these embryos, when the fish lay, they descended and then accumulated here at the bottom. Here it is also same. There are 2 tanks, and in these tanks there is provision of separator. So male and females can be kept separately, and next morning when the lights come, you can remove this separator so that they will mate, and then you will get embryos. So these embryos is typical timed embryos. There are certain experiments actually where you need to know a specific time of fertilization, like microinjection, when you want to inject 1 cell embryo. Because in a zebrafish, first cell division takes place after 45 minutes. So in that case, you have to keep this separator. When you normally go for colony propagation, that time you do not require this separator. And this is a big breeding apparatus, or you can say spawning apparatus. Here actually you can keep 100 to 200 females and then 5 to 10 males. Especially in chemical screen, when you need thousands of embryos, like 5,000 or 10,000 embryos, that time you can use this separator. This is also called as mass spawning experiments. So this is all about breeding. Coming to the life stages in zebrafish pass through 4 different stages of their life cycle. And the first stage is embryo, which lasts for 1 to 3 days. During this stage, you can see these development like zygote formation, cleavage, blastula, gastrula, segmentation, and hatching. Next stage is the larva, so it can last from 4 days to 29 days. Here again, you can say swimming larva from 4 to 7 days, from 7 to 13 or 14 days early larvae, and then from 14 to 29 days mid larvae. Swimming early and mid larvae, and the juvenile stage starts from 30 days and it can go up to 59 days or even in some cases 90 days, and adult stage starts from 60 days. In some laboratories after 90 days they call as adults. And this is more detailed life cycle of zebrafish. Starts from 1 cell. So at 0 hours post fertilization, you can see the 1 cell stage embryo. Then around 2 hours post fertilization, 8 cell stage can see. At 4 hours post fertilization, you can see the late blastula stage. At 6 hours post fertilization, you can see 50% epiboly. 50% epiboly means 50% of this embryo is occupied with the developing cells. And around 8 hours post fertilization, you can see the gastrula stage. After 16 hours post fertilization, segment formation start, and then this is the body plan, and you can see around 14 somite can be seen during this stage. Then after 24 hours, complete body plan is ready. And then hatching starts after 48 hours and it is completed by 72 hours. So at 3 days, you can say free swimming larvae, and then after 90 or 60 days, you can say it is an adult. So coming to fish nutrition, the aim of the fish nutrition should to support growth, development, and reproductions, and any feed should consist, or the parts of any feed or diet should be proteins that should range from 36 to 44%, and then the oil 14%, 14% ash, 1 to 3% phosphorus, 0.2% crude fibers. So as such, there are no defined food. Means you have no choice to use few diets or few feeds, and these diets were mostly developed for ornamental fish industry. But nowadays, more research is going on zebrafish nutrition, and there is one feed recently come. It is you can say the only one feed which is based on the research, that is Gemma feed. In India, I think nobody is used, but for prawns and other industries, Gemma feed is used in India. So as I told you, there are no standard protocols and no standard feeds, especially for zebrafish. So as per your research requirement, each lab has their own feeding protocols. In our case, we have standardized our protocol, and the fish are feed as per their life stage. So during 0 to 5 day post fertilization, embryo or larvae, you can say, has their egg own feed, that is egg yolk, and this egg yolk nourish larvae up to 5 or 6 days, and you don't need to feed this stage. The next stage is 6 to 12th day. By 6th day onward, this egg yolk start depleting, and then they also start swimming. So you can actually give external feeding. Then the third stage is 13 to 60 days, where you can offer different live food like Artemia, Rotifer, Paramecium, Tubifex. We give Artemia. And then the next stage is 60 to 120 days. Here you can give live feed as well as pellets or flake food, because by this time the mouth of fish is enough bigger to take a bigger particle. The stage from 13 to 60 days is very crucial for fish development. You can see the multifold growth during this stage. So this is again, this stage is very good for nutritional studies. You can test your different nutrition, or you can say probiotics or other dietary supplements. This is again our protocol. So these are different types of food we give to our fish. We give 4 different types of feed, and then these are the feeding frequencies, and 4 different feeding timings we feed the fish. So the first stage, like 6 to 8 days, we give larval diet. It is a fine powder, and it is given all 4 times. Then the second stage, like 13 to 60 days, we give live Artemia, and again we give for 4 times. Then juvenile food, that is a small pellet. The pellet size is around 150 to 30 micron, and it is given only one. So at 12 o'clock feeding, we give only juvenile feed or baby diet. And then adult feeds, you need only 2 feedings. So morning feed we give Artemia, and then the evening feed around 14 hours we give pellet. So this is all about zebrafish feeding. Coming to anesthetic agent which are commonly used in zebrafish. So in zebrafish, anesthesia is required for experimental purpose when or to relieve the pain and pain during the invasive procedures, or you can also need anesthesia for handling the fish. So as per AVMA, is American Veterinary Medical Association, these are the common anesthetic agents like Trican methosulfonate. This is most popular and universally used. It can be given in 3 different doses, like 50 milligram per liter for sedation, then 50 to 100 milligram for light anesthesia, and 100 to 200 milligram for surgical anesthesia. In zebrafish, actually, you have to cut the tail fins, especially for genotyping. So as per ethical requirement, you have to sedate these fish, giving light anesthesia. Then other anesthetic agents are benzocaine, 2-phenoxyethanol, clove oil like eugenol and isoeugenol can also be used as anesthetic agents. Then metomidate hydrochloride, lidocaine hydrochloride. Again, this lidocaine is gaining popularity as an anesthetic agent in zebrafish. And then it can also given in combination with isoflurane. And hypothermia means is putting them into ice slurry. This type of anesthesia is most popular for using the larval stages because these chemical anesthetic agents are not very effective. So hypothermia is very good anesthetic agent for especially larval stages. Coming to euthanasia, euthanasia is required for experimental endpoints or sacrificing the surplus zebrafish, or when the zebrafish are sick or diseased, that time you have to euthanize the zebrafish. And then these are the different euthanasia agents, and euthanasia agents are selected based on their stage of the life, like larval stages or adult. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear.
Okay.
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. So during first to 15-day post-fertilization, you can immerse larvae into ice water or ice slurry, you can say. You just make a ice slurry by using 5 parts of ice and then 1 part of water, and then you can keep for 20 minutes. You can also give the anesthetic dose, anesthetic agent, overdose of anesthetic agents. But recent one paper came, even after cessation of the upper movement or heartbeat, fish can survive with these 2 steps. So now they are recommending, in addition to these 2 agents, you can put them into bleach solution. like 1 part of sodium hypochlorite and then 5 parts of water for 5 minutes. So this will ensure their death. There are certain experiments where you need a fixation of larvae in paraformaldehyde or other fixative agent. In that case, you can directly put these larvae into these solutions, and there is no need of euthanizing the larvae. The stage more than 15-day post-fertilization, you can also say mid-larvae, juvenile or adult. You can use overdose of Trican for 10 minutes. Then anesthesia with Trican followed by rapid freezing in liquid nitrogen or rapid chilling by submersion in ice water. And then other two recommended methods are decapitation with sharp blade and then use of clove oil. So these are the different agents and different that can be used for euthanasia in zebrafish. Coming to national policies for the zebrafish care and compliances under CPCACI in India, so at present there are no guidelines. But maybe in a 6-month period you can see these guidelines, because one committee is already formed, and even TIFR and IGIB Delhi is a member of that committee. I have given many inputs. So maybe in another 6 months you can see the guidelines regarding zebrafish facility registration. Yes, when there is no animal facility for other species like rodents or large animals or other species, then you have to need a registration for zebrafish facility. But when in your institute or college there is rodent facility or facility for other species, then you can include zebrafish as one of the species of laboratory animals, and then there is no need of getting the separate registration. IAC approval for research proposal, yes, because this is required for funding, either national funding agencies or international funding agencies. National funding agencies like DBT, DST, ICMR, they ask for IAC approval. International funding like NIH, PHS, and then Wellcome Trust fellowship, that is from UK. Many researchers from India now getting Wellcome Trust fellowship. And many of them are using zebrafish, so they need, even in our case also, our fellowship was Wellcome Trust fellowship during 2010 to 15, and then from 2009 I am getting IAC approval for zebrafish. For transfer or exchange of zebrafish between two institutes or import or export, then there are other guidelines under DBT, that is RCGM, Review Committee on Genetic Monitoring. So under this Apex committee, one more committee at institutional level is there, that is the IBS, Institutional Biosafety Committee. So you have to approve your proposal when you want to exchange, import or export of genetically engineered Danio lines. International guidelines, yes, there are international guidelines, OLA guidelines, and then these are the NRC publications, Guide for the Care and Use of Laboratory Animals. So many US universities and research universities, they follow these guidelines. In European countries, excuse me, there are FELASA guidelines. And then in Canada also there are guidelines. In Australia they follow OLA and then these NRC guidelines. As per the NIH and NIH guidelines and PHS policies, when you submit your proposal for ethical clearance, so they consider certain stages. The first stage, that is a 1 to 3 days embryo, is excluded from the ethical approval. As per this NIH policies, they say this is not a live animals. They consider live animals after hatching. Hatching means after 3 days. So after 3 days, larvae come out from the chorionic membrane, and then they consider it as a live animals. So they recommend ethical clearance for the larvae from 4th day onwards. And for record purpose, again, there is one issue they have not issue. So they consider this 4 to 7 day embryo doesn't have cognition. This cognition is developed after 7th day. So they say ki, just you have to keep the record of larvae between 4 to 7 days separately, and then they consider larvae more than 8 days as adult animals. So like rodents, you have to then maintain all the records for these larvae, and these larvae are not included in their in the total number of the animals approved for that research proposal. So zebrafish are also very susceptible, means natural susceptible, or these diseases are naturally occur in zebrafish. So bacterial diseases, parasitic diseases, toxicity diseases, and then the cancers or neoplastic diseases. So among bacterial diseases, fish tuberculosis is most common in zebrafish. And then the typical symptoms are like ulcer on body, and then the dropsy, and you can see the rough body surface or raised scales. And this fish tuberculosis are caused by Mycobacterium marinum, and there are 6 to 7 more strains, but this is most common. And this is very close to Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So again, it is used as a model for tuberculosis research. In parasitic disease, microsporia disease, it is caused by the Pseudomonas neurophilia. It is again very common, and the typical symptoms of this disease is vertebral abnormalities. You can also see scoliosis, lordosis, kyphosis, and then the emaciations. So this is the most common among almost all zebrafish facilities. Then the toxicity disease is a copper toxicity, generally caused by the pipes or plumbing which is used in zebrafish facilities. And then the chlorine is generally get from the water. Municipal water is generally bleached using the chlorine, especially during the monsoon season. Then the ammonia toxicity is received from the fish metabolic product. And then these are the neoplastic neoplasia which are not naturally occur in fish, like seminoma, intestine carcinoma, hepatic neoplasma, thyroid neoplasma, and hemangioma. So these neoplasms are spontaneously developed in zebrafish, as well as you can develop these cancers using chemical or other oncogenic agents. Regarding treatment of zebrafish, there are certain therapeutic agents like Romate, Terramycin, Aquaflor, Halamite Aqua. You can also use formalin, and then the saline water, like high saline water, like sodium chloride, for treating certain diseases. And these are the diseases, as I told you. These are the different doses, and these are the routes. So this Romate and Terramycin can be given internal using feed or even in water, and formalin and NaCls can be added to water, and then you can give the bath to the fish. And this is a period for treatment. And coming to the various research models or research tools developed over a period of last 30 to 40 years. So there are separate different cellular methods, then genetic methods, molecular methods, targeted mutations, and chemical mutagenesis. In cellular methods, this cell transplants or cell ablation is a well-established technique. I will give you an example. During the embryonic stage or during the development stage, like blastula or gastrula, you can remove one single cell, then tag this cell with marker, and then again transplant this cell into developing embryo. And then you can track this cell in the different tissue. So this technique is mostly used in gene regulations and gene expression studies, as well as markers. Then in genetic studies, haploid and diploid embryos can be produced here. So embryo will carry only one set of genetic material like from mother or father only. Then in chemical mutagenesis, this chemical mutagenesis is used for random mutagen studies in zebrafish, especially for the forward and reverse genetic studies. So regarding the cell transplant, here this is a typical technique. You can say cell can be transplanted in adult stage as well as during the embryonic stage, as I told you in the last slide. So this is adult fish, zebrafish with a tumor on its body. And these tumor cells can be removed and then it can be transplanted into again other adult zebrafish, which is irradiated to receive this graft. And this recipient fish will actually grow this tumor cells here, and it will develop a neoplasm here. In embryo transplant, human fluorescent cancer cells can be co-cultured with the larvae. And these larvae will take or integrated these cancer cells, and then they will be integrated in their body, and you can see these cancer cells in their body, and you can develop a model. So this technique is most established in IIT Kanpur. They have developed one model for a zebrafish model for one cancer. You can refer that article. It is available on Google or PubMed. So recently they have published this paper. The other approach is morpholony injection. It's most common and most popular. So it is used for protein inhibition of the protein synthesis. These are nothing but oligos. So as per your need, you can design the oligos, and then you can inject into one cell embryo or a blastocyst or a gastrolome. So they generally function by forming the heteroduplexes with the target transcript to interfere the protein synthesis. So what will happen? They will knock down the effect of protein synthesis, and then when the protein synthesis is affected, it will produce the wrong gene product, and it will show some phenotype. But this phenotype is reversible. So after some time, it is not a permanent damage to your genes or genotype or your what we say is pathway. So after some time, it will reverse. And for a genetic screen or for developing genetic disease models, this is most popular. You can say chemical mutagenesis using ENU. So it causes a random mutagenesis in zebrafish. Protocol is very simple. As I described in second slide, there's a large chemical mutagenesis held in early 1990s, one in Boston. So they use this even in Sanger Institute. There was a big mega project. You can say. So the protocol is simple here. The males, adult sexually mature males are treated with ENU, and then they are crossed with wild type females, and then they get F1 progeny. F1 progeny, they raise up to the sexual maturity, and in F1 progeny there are some random mutations, but you do not know. So again, from F1 progeny you select males, and then again cross with the wild type females. In F2 progeny, you will get 50% wild type population, and then the 50% heterozygous mutant population. So again, you raise this F2 progeny, and then once they attain the sexual maturity, again you cross and then produce the F3 progeny. So here, since they are siblings, there are some wild types, means 50% are wild type and 50% are het. So you will get population in 3 different categories, like 25% will be wild types, 50% will be plus minus or hets, and then the 25% will be mutants. So these 25% mutants will be identified or studied will be identified for different mutations, and then these mutant genes will be characterized. And this, if they found very useful, then this can be potential models for studying the human genetic diseases. And this is a recently developed genome editing system, genome editing technique. This is the most powerful because this is a CRISPR-Cas. Many of you must be aware of this technique. It is discovered in 2013. And with the help of this technique, many transgenic knockouts models can be developed in almost all species of animals, including human. Now, this technique is being used for repair of the genetic, you can say there are some conditions where the genes are defective. So for the repairing of those defective genes, in future, this technique will be useful. Coming to last part of my, okay, I am on time. Coming to last part of my presentation, the research applications of zebrafish model. So there are different areas like embryonic development, drug development, toxicity studies, neuropharmacology, human diseases, cancer biology, and then the cardiovascular studies. So zebrafish has been a traditional model for embryology, and especially studying the studying the embryonic development stages during early development. And there are advantages of using this model because the fertilization is external, as well as the development is totally outside of mother body. So you have access to large number of embryos, and there is a crystal clear transparency of the embryos. So you can see the development of many organs using a simple microscope like stereo microscope. So studies like early embryonic development, like cleavage, gastrulation, tissue morphogenesis, organogenesis, and apoptosis, these stages can be seen with a simple microscope. Then the various cellular and molecular mechanisms and signaling pathways can be studied during these stages. And gene regulation, especially during early development stages, or what are the various genes express or regulate these developments or these pathways can be studied. One group in our institute working on the maternal genes. So maternal genes, which are genes and you can say the proteins which are present in the mature egg, how these genes or how these proteins support the early development, like zygote formation or fertilization, and also how the genes support the survival of early stages. So this is wonderful model for such type of studies, especially in vertebrate development. Then coming to chemical screens, so it is almost 20 years now. Zebrafish has been used in chemical screens. For first time in 2000, it was started using the zebrafish for chemical screens. So with the advent of chemical synthesis, large number and diverse compounds are synthesized. And in high throughput studies, especially in vitro drug screening, large hits are now available. So to validate these leads or hits, you can say mammalian model is generally used, but mammalian models are very slow and costly. So now zebrafish can be used, or zebrafish embryos can be used for such assays. And these assays can be done in 96 well plates. And since it is in 96 well plates, it's very easy for dosing, and less dose is required. So it is very cheaper. And the most important feature or advantage of using the zebrafish embryo is you can have a visual assessment of drug effect on the developing cells or organs. You can study the behavior of cell or organ when you treat with your drug. So this is a very useful feature. And the other assays like in vivo zebrafish assess for the drug effect on the angiogenesis, and then you can also test the anti-angiogenesis drugs in these assays. Hello.
Yes, sir, you can be heard.
Yeah, sorry. Hello. There
Yes,
is some
sir.
problem with the.
Sir, on this side, we are not seeing any problems. We can hear you, sir, and we can see the presentation also.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Sir, we can't hear you now.
Yeah, there is some problem. As slides are not moving. Just give me some time. Maybe there is some net problem.
Okay, sir. Just, sir, for your information, we could see the slides moving.
But it's not moving here. I don't know what is the problem.
Okay, sir.
Uh, oh, what happened? Reload my presentation. 1 minute. Hello.
Yes, sir.
1 minute. Slides are loading. 1 minute.
No problem, sir.
Hello. Can you see now?
Not yet, sir.
It is visible here. I don't know. Now?
No, sir, not yet.
Now?
Sir, at least on my screen, I cannot see.
What happened then? How to resolve this issue now?
Sir, can we try and share it from our end, and then you can, probably tell us to go on to the next slide.
Okay, let me try one more time.
Okay, sir. So we can see the presentation now.
Okay. Now is it okay?
Yes, sir, perfect.
Okay. So extremely sorry for this technical glitch. So zebrafish again is a very useful model for understanding the human genetic diseases. So as I told you, chemical mutagenesis screen was held 30 years back, and then so many mutations were created, and then those mutations were identified in many genes which are actually involved in development and many pathways. So this is the data of, for 3 years, 2017 to 2019, and total zebrafish genetic disease models in published. So this is based on the published data. So in 2017, there were total 1,334 genetic disease models using zebrafish, and in 2018, around 1,447, whereas in 2019 there were 1,582 only genetic disease models only from the zebrafish. And these are the genetic approaches, as I already discussed, like mutagenesis screens and then the viral insertions. So you can, excuse me, you can make your molecular cassette and then insert into the virus, and then the virus can be, the zebrafish embryos can be infected with the virus, and that's how this genetic mutation can be created in zebrafish. And again, I described Morpholino, Tilling, Z-Ping-Gingerfin nuclease. So these are the various genetic tools which are used to create either transgenic or knockout mutations in zebrafish. And as per OECD, zebrafish is again a validated model for LC50, as well as for testing the toxicity of chemicals. So the advantage of using the zebrafish is availability of large numbers of fertilized embryos from a single female. Thousands of embryos can be available for these studies. And zebrafish bioassays are very cheaper and faster than the mouse model. Embryo assay can be carried out in 24 or 96 well plates, so it's very easy to dose and less dose is required. The most important is visual assessment of the toxic effect of compounds on developing organs can be seen or available. And then assay parameters such as the lethality, embryo survival, behavior, and organ malformation can be demonstrated in zebrafish. Zebrafish embryos have been shown to be a very useful model for detection of direct acting teratogens. So with these useful features, it's a very good model in chemical toxicity studies. Oh, shit. And as per OECD guidelines, these are the different test numbers which are commonly used in zebrafish, like 203 for fish acute toxicity study, 204 fish prolonged toxicity study, 210 early life stage toxicity, and then 212 short-term toxicity, 215 fish juvenile growth, 229 short-term reproductive assay, 234 fish sexual development, 236 fish embryo acute toxicity, and these are the different stages of zebrafish or zebrafish larvae which are used for such type of assays. So this is 236 fish embryo toxicity to determine LC50. So newly fertilized zebrafish eggs are exposed to test chemical for a period of 96 hours. Every 24 hours, 4 apical observations are recorded as indicators of lethality. At the end of exposure period, acute toxicity is determined based on a positive outcome in any of the 4 apical observations, and then the LC50 is calculated. So as per the standard protocol, 5 different concentrations of any chemicals are used, and these are the 96 well plates, and each well contains around 20 embryos in multiple for each concentration 4 subsets. So being from pharmacy, you must be aware of all these testing protocols. I will not go into details, and these are the 4 apical observations which are generally recorded during toxicity studies. So first one is the coagulation of fertilized eggs. So normal developing embryo will look like this. So 1 cell, and then the 2 cells, and then the blastula. But if the chemical is very toxic, the embryo will die, and then this inner mass will be accumulated. So this is coagulation of the embryo. The second parameter is lack of somoid formation. So at the age of 16 hours, this body plan is preparing here, and then this body plan will have different segments, or you can say the somites. So if the chemical is toxic, this somoid formation will be affected. You will not see any somoid formation. So this is second parameter. Then the third parameter is lack of detachment of tail blood. So tail blood is somewhere here. Generally in normal developing embryo, it is detached from the egg yolk. But when the chemical is toxic, the detachment is failure, and you will clearly see in this embryo. The fourth parameter is lack of heartbeat. So in zebrafish, heartbeat can be seen after 26 hours post fertilization. So if the chemical is toxic, this heart beating will also be either slow down or it will be absent. So these 4 parameters are recorded as per the OECD guidelines. Then this is a fish acute toxicity test. This is number 203 using adults to determine LC50. So here 7 adult fish are taken, and again 5 different concentrations are used, and the parameters such as the mortality of these fish, abnormal appearance like abnormal swimming or abnormal behavior, feeding behavior can be affected or can be recorded. Then euthanasia of the fish, survival fish at the end of this 96 hours study, fish are euthanized, and then you have to take the weight and length. You people are more aware about these protocol details. And this is again toxicity testing for chemical toxicity using the early embryos. This is 210. So here again, 5 different concentrations of the chemical is used, and in each well there are 20 embryos, and in the multiple groups. So this test is used to define the lethal and sublethal effects of the chemical. And these are the observations like stage of the embryonic development, whether it is affecting or it is normal development, then hatching and survival, whether the hatching and survival is taken place normally, then the abnormal appearance of the larvae, abnormal behavior, and then the weight and length. These are the observations you have to make using these techniques. Recently, I read this paper. This is most interesting. So now see, people are using zebrafish embryo to test the parts of 3D printers. So this is one paper published assessing and reducing the toxicity of 3D printed parts using the zebrafish embryos. So you can imagine where the zebrafish are now being used. For cancer research, zebrafish is again a proven model because of this beautiful features in zebrafish. Like it responds well to all carcinogenic agents like chemical carcinogenesis, transplantation of the mammalian cancer cells, and all, as well as the oncogenes. So in all these approaches, zebrafish can be developed with tumor. And the surprising thing is there is a similarity of cancer, human cancer and zebrafish cancer at the microscopic level. So you can see the similar changes. And then the several angiogenesis studies and anti-angiogenesis drug studies and even apoptosis have been done, and there are several published papers using zebrafish for such type of research. And these are the normal tumors or neoplasms which are seen or which can be developed in zebrafish. Zebrafish is again very useful in cardiovascular diseases. Many cardiac defects which are seen or which are common in human being can also be seen in zebrafish, or also such defects can be created in zebrafish. So it can actually substitute human for such type of studies. Surprisingly, the ECG of human and zebrafish are matching, whereas the ECG of human and rodents never match. The one more technique, that is cryoinjury, cardiac damage by the cryoinjury for regeneration studies is a very good model. Many research groups are using this for regeneration studies. As I told you, zebrafish are naturally susceptible to tuberculosis infections. The organism is Mycobacterium marinum or Chiloni, which is very close to Mycobacterium tuberculosis organism. So researchers have explored this model for tuberculosis research. This is one group headed by Dr. L. Lalita Ramakrishnan at Cambridge University. You will see so many papers on her name using zebrafish for tuberculosis research. Recently, there is one paper published from BITS Pilani Hyderabad campus and then the Dr. Reddy's lab. So they have optimized and validated zebrafish model for Mycobacterium marinum induced adult zebrafish model for evaluation of oral anti-tuberculosis drug. Then coming to behavioral studies, zebrafish is also useful for revealing the neuronal basis of behavior. So as we know, our behavior is generated in our brain, but how this behavior is generated in brain is still in infancy stage, and I can say it is a biggest biological puzzle. Excuse me. So there are some advantages using zebrafish for such type of studies, like many components of brain except the multi-layer cerebral cortex is absent in zebrafish. Otherwise, it is similar to human. And then zebrafish larvae are transparent. And then the most advanced technique, that is in vivo imaging system in zebrafish is available. And then the zebrafish are very amenable to testing predictions, or they are amenable to genetic manipulation. So many mutant can be created which mimic the behavioral defect in human being, and then these models can be used for studying the similar behavioral defects in a human. So to identify factors required for neuronal cell fate, decision differentiation, axon guidance, and synapse formations. So these are the targets you can study in zebrafish. And then the zebrafish serve as a model system for study of many neuronal circuits as well as behaviors. And zebrafish have been used to study a variety of visual behaviors also. And the most you can see the stages of zebrafish which shows these behaviors are below 8th day post-fertilization larvae. So from 1 to 8th day post-fertilization larvae are most suitable for such type of studies. Although some adult stages can also be used for behavioral studies. So these are the behaviors like excuse me, swimming and motility, photo entertainment and circadian regulation activities, sleep, auditory test start, touch evoke response, and then the optokinetic response, optometer response, and visually mediated escape and addiction, especially how they escape the predators and how they catch the food. So these are the behaviors which are used or which can be used for screening the behavioral assays, and these are the stages of zebrafish larvae or embryo or adults which are useful for such studies. And this is a setup which is many of you may be using. So this is 96 well plate where the embryos, or you can say one cell or even organs, are co-cultured with different drugs, and the images or the behavior of these live systems or live cells or live organs you can capture with this camera, and then the images will be processed here, and then on screen you can record this, or you can see these behaviors. So for behavioral assays, this setup is most useful. Similar setup is also available for adult zebrafish. Instead of 96 well plates, you can keep fish tank with live zebrafish, whether it is normal or you can say treated with your drug. And these are the international agencies where you can find different fish lines, or you can say from A to Z, like antibodies, markers, sequences, probes. So Zebrafish International Research Center at the University of Oregon, Eugene. It is the oldest and you can say a premier facility in zebrafish, like Jackson Laboratory in rodents. You can get everything here. Even a lot of useful information is available that is free of cost. You can see different protocols for your studies. Then the other repository is Max Planck Institute for Developmental Biology at Tübingen, Germany. They also house so many zebrafish lines, antibodies, probes. And then in Europe, this is European Zebrafish Research Center, work on the similar principles. And then the Sanger Institute, it was also a largest repository of zebrafish lines, but in 2019 they have stopped maintaining these fish lines, and they have distributed these fish lines to many research laboratories across Europe and America. To summarize, this is last slide. To summarize, zebrafish, a freshwater cyprinid fish, is easy to breed and maintain in laboratory environment. Housing and maintenance is cheaper than the rodent facility. several biological characteristics has made it popular to involve in various research of biomedical research. And zebrafish has been occupying place in drug screening and chemical toxicity studies because of cheaper and faster assays, along with other useful features. Then with the advent of genome editing technique, that is CRISPR-Cas9, zebrafish can be modeled for several human diseases. So this is all about my presentation. Thank you so much for your patience listening. And now we can take some questions. And this is our facility. This is largest, you can say this is the second largest facility in India. We can house around 50 to 60,000 adult zebrafish. So this is centralized facility. This is nursery. Both are separate from each other. Their water circulation is separate, no mixing of water. So in nursery, we raise zebrafish up to 2 months, and then once they cross 2 months, they are housed in this bigger centralized facility. They are multi-link facility, and this is the effluent treatment assembly where drain water from the system is treated through after passing through different series of filters, and then sterilized and again circulate to this facility. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for giving us such a comprehensive knowledge bank on working with zebrafish. I'm sure after the session, our participants would be more motivated to conduct research with zebrafish. So there are questions and we'll take them up. In the interest of time, I shall club some of the questions.
Okay.
Our first question was from Kavyashree, and she wants to know that while doing a cytotoxic study of drug material, which stage of fish is the best to work?
Can you repeat, please? Sorry.
So for doing cytotoxic assays, which is the ideal stage of the fish life that we should go in for?
Cytotoxicity.
Yes, sir.
Maybe developing stages will be good.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Then the next question is from Dr. Madhur Kulkarni, and she would like to know, sir, if we have to mimic the human body temperature, that is 37 degree, would it be I request the participants to please mute themselves. Okay, thank you. So Dr. Madhur Kulkarni would like to know that since the survival range temperature for zebrafish is 24 to 30 degrees centigrade, if we want to conduct studies mimicking the human body temperature, how would that affect the zebrafish, and would it affect the test results?
Yeah. So see, zebrafish is a river fish, Indian river fish, and you can know the Indian climatic conditions. So there is a wide range of temperature. Okay, even during day and night, the temperature is varying significantly. So this fish is so, you can say, means it can survive even a wide range of temperature, but since it is used for research purpose, then you have to be raised under control conditions like the 27 to 29, and then the optimal is 28. Okay, now coming to his this thing, the temperature, our temperature is 37, and then the zebrafish temperature is 28. See, as I told you, there are homology. Okay, there is a homology between around 70% homology between human and zebrafish, and many pathways are highly conserved in zebrafish as well as the human. Okay, so this may not be ideal for all type of research. Okay, but there are certain conditions. So the data for that conditions, which is actually obtained from zebrafish, can be extrapolated for the human conditions. I will not say ki, exactly the all research which is being carried which is being carried on zebrafish will be useful for this. And it is the difference between the temperature, body temperature, even for rodents also. Rodents are maintained at 22 degree centigrade. Our body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. It doesn't mean data available from zebra rodents are not useful for human purpose. You got my he got my point? Or?
I think so, sir. I think the question is answered. So then the next questions are, I'm going to club them from Dr. Shilpa Davare and Dr. Sunita Sampati, and they would like to know as to which formulation dosage forms can be studied for using zebrafish. Can we study them from nano formulations, nanoparticles? So I think what they want to ask is, how do you dose the zebrafish? And can you do the dosing in these formulations?
Yeah, there are certain reports actually you can use in nano formulations, and they can refer. There are research data available on PubMed for nano formulations. Yes.
So the next question was from Ms. Vishali Neve, and she was inquiring that which kind of drugs can be used, can be studied using zebrafish. But I think, sir, you've already discussed what are the different biological assays that can be carried out. So then we move again to the next question by Dr. Sunita Sampati, and she wants to inquire that if we use what study protocol should be used and how many fish should be there in each batch. That I think she wants to ask about the statistically significant number which is required, and how do we calculate a dose of the drug in zebrafish?
Yeah. So see, we are not doing any chemical toxicity studies or drug screening. Our group is working on the fundamental research. That is a basic. We work on molecular and cellular pathways in skin development. But as her question is, see, there are so many research data available, especially for this. She want to do some chemical screening or drug screening.
So that is not that's not mentioned in the question.
Is there any specific drugs you want to test?
No, sir, that is not mentioned.
Okay, so you see, then you will have to do the pilot project. If there is no data, previous data for that particular drug, then you will have to go with different doses, and then see the effective drug. Like for chemical toxicity, when there is no defined this thing, you have to use different concentrations, like 5 concentrations, and then see at which concentration the maximum mortality is there, like that. For new drug also, you will have to do the pilot projects. Regarding number of fish, so like rodent, you can go from 3 fish to or 6 fish. Generally, in rodents, 6 animals or 3 to 6 animals give the statistical significant difference. So you can start with the 6 fish. Like this toxicity studies, adult toxicity, 7 fish are used as per OECD guidelines. So one group will contain 7 fish. And that again, it will be in multiple, this like 4 subsets. For one concentration, 4 groups of 7 fish each, like that. For embryos, you can use 20 embryos. 20 embryos per concentration, that is in multiple, again, 4 subgroups, like that.
Okay, sir.
But research data is available. They can actually go through PubMed. Lots of data is available.
So just to extend that question forward, are there any correlation formulas for fish like we have for rodents?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll move on to the next question then, sir. Dr. Mrinal Sanai would like to know if we have to procure authentic, if we have to procure fish from authentic sources.
Yeah.
Can you please comment on the authentic sources? And because I know Dr. Mrinal is from Mumbai, so in Mumbai, maybe 1 or 2 sources.
Yeah. So at national level, see again, what is your requirement? I'm telling you there are more than 40,000 lines now available in ZIRC, Eugene. So wild types are limited. Wild types, I think not more than 10 lines are available, wild types, but many are transgenic and knockouts. Okay, so if she wants a specific knockout for her study, which is suitable for her study. Okay, I don't know in which area she is working. So there are research models available for each type of studies. Like diabetes, there are models. For cardiovascular studies, there are models. Okay, knockouts or transgenic. So if she wants this type of models, then she will have to approach either ZIRC or MPI or EGRC, or even in Indian laboratories. Like we have around 50 transgenic and knockout lines. Okay, IGIB must have around 100 lines. CCMB has, NCBS has. There are so many transgenic and mutant lines. So if that particular line is suitable for her studies, then these laboratories can share. Okay. Depend on their mutual understanding, maybe collaboration, or some noises are there, background noises. Okay.
Okay,
So
sir.
she will have to contact those institutes regarding wild types. So wild types can be shared, but as I actually described in one of my slides, there are IBSC guidelines, RCGM guidelines. Okay, so if you have IBSC committee at your institute, you can approve the proposal, and then you can approach to these institutes. We can supply, no issue. For import, they will have to go for an import license from DGFT. Like what we do for rodents.
Okay, sir. Sir, there are more questions, but in the interest of time,
They can write me. My email is there. No? You can share my email.
Okay, sir.
They can write me. I will explain their individual questions.
Okay, sir. So thank you once again on behalf of Bombay College of Pharmacy for taking out valuable time off and to give us these insights into working with zebrafish. And with this, we conclude our session on biomedical research in zebrafish by Dr. Kole. And the next session will start at 11:45. So thank you once again for being there for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vaishali.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.